Hi, I'm Gretchen Spiker with the City of Topeka.
And I'm India Yarbrough with the Greater Topeka Partnership.
The Topeka Talk podcast is back for Season 2 for more meaningful community conversations.
We've got a great lineup in store, and we're excited to have you along for the ride this season. If you haven't yet heard about the Topeka Area Sports Commission, you may want to listen closely. The Sports Commission, commonly known as TASC, formed in 2022 and was designed to advocate for and advance both youth and adult sports in the Greater Topeka area. The ultimate goal has been to spur Topeka's growth as a premier destination for athletic competition, and fulfilling that mission is well underway.
And as we dive into all things TASC, we're joined in the studio with Jake Farrant, owner and CEO of Mammoth Sports Construction, who's also the chair of the Topeka Area Sports Commission, as well as Mike Bell of Visit Topeka, who serves as TASC's director. Welcome, Jake and Mike, and thanks for joining us on the Topeka Talk podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
Of course, yeah.
I appreciate it. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're so thrilled to have you guys in the studio today and to really kick things off. I mean, we'd like to kind of start at the base level and chat a bit about what the Topeka Area Sports Commission is, and how it came to be. So could you each, I'll let you decide who goes first, but could you shed some light on kind of what spurred the creation of TASC and what this committee is all about?
Sure. Coming out of the pandemic, we figured that sports was something that just carried us through within the relation to tourism. And we thought, what's the next step? What's the evolution of our destination? So in 2021, we got a group of people together and to discuss that. One of our initiatives was the Riverfront, which is well underway and has groups that are kind of leading that initiative. The second was youth sports. We figured out that in some respects we're behind in youth sports. We have some of our youth going out of our market, out of Topeka to play, and we really wanted to tackle that. And the second piece is that we found out that everybody kind of operated their own silo. There was no clearinghouse. There was no unified direction. And from those initial meetings, TASC was formed, the Sports Commission, not only for Topeka, but encompassing really the entire area. So every smaller community around Topeka. And we just wanted to have a good foot forward, a group of everyone pulling in the same direction.
Nice. And Jake, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think Mike hit it right on, the head is COVID did a lot of things to a lot of communities. And, I think for us for a while, the people that were lost or the people that were sick are going to be the first things that pop into our head. But COVID also changed a lot of families' dynamics and how they spend their time and their money. And what was interesting about the 2020 specifically is you see industries that absolutely flourished and took off. You couldn't find a boat. Boats were going for double the size, retail. Our RVs, tennis rackets were gone from Walmart shelves and sporting goods, so
bikes at one point.
Bikes were, so now tell me, is that good or bad for our community? It's absolutely wonderful, and COVID did that. It got people out of their routines. It got them back out playing with their kids. And doing activities as a family, because if you remember, and it's getting 3 years away now, but if you remember, we were kind of isolated, right? But it was okay to hang out with your family, and then maybe even sometimes your immediate family, cousins and so you saw all sorts of sports, and Mike was right. The one thing that didn't stop during that 2020 summer is our kids kept playing ball tournaments, and we didn't shake hands after the baseball or softball game, but we were still playing. And it was very consistent that youth sports it pushed a lot of communities right through, and it was a big deal. People needed it. People needed sports. And I think the NBA and the NFL and everybody has recognized that the how big sports were back then. So to jump to your question specifically about TASC, that was around the same time that Mike and I started talking, and what was Topeka doing and what was happening in Topeka, and I think as my role coming into this, Mammoth, we get a viewpoint into hundreds of communities every day, every week, every year. And so I just started hitting Mike over the head with like, hey, this is what Bentonville, Arkansas is doing. Hey, this is what Omaha is doing. Sioux Falls, South Dakota is doing this and this and this. And I had all these ideas, and and him and Sean and Matt, collectively took all my comments, and then they came back to me within 48 hours and said, hey, we'd like to, start a task force here and really put some movement behind this. And we've all collectively agreed that you're the chairman for it too. So that's
a little voluntold, huh?
Yeah, voluntold. But with I have 3 young kids that are all playing sports in Topeka, and jumped at the opportunity to help Mike in a leadership role here.
And thanks, Jake. And you've already talked a little bit about your specific role with TASK and how Mammoth aligns with that work, but I'd like to dive a little deeper. Where do you see Mammoth being able to help? And is it really at that perspective level because you're seeing other communities, or is it a little deeper than that?
Yes and yes. I think first and foremost, we're a business that is working. I think we've worked in 44, 45 states now. So we really have a good perspective, and we see day in and day out what communities are doing, how they're raising the money. Money always plays a part in facilities, and I think so. Yes, perspective, idea-wise, and I think communities have a tendency to get into a little bit of keeping up with the Joneses, and states do too. And what I see in Topeka is we have a bunch of good communities around here, and I'm going to say we have a bunch of municipalities, cities. Lawrence is fantastic. Manhattan's fantastic. Wichita and Kansas City, but we've not done a good job of playing well together. Does that make sense? And especially Manhattan, Topeka, and Lawrence. So Manhattan's hosting their own deals, Topeka hosts their own deals, Lawrence hosts their own deals, and then all of our kids that live in our communities are driving to Kansas City and Wichita on the weekends. So I very early on we identified this, that this is a problem. So we need to do a better job of communicating, and our first goal here is to provide, because let's just go top of the trees real quick. Topeka and what TASK wants to support, and what Topeka is wonderful at. Topeka is the best place in America to raise young children. Okay, so that is my opinion. I think it should be the opinion of a lot of other people, but that is our strength. So we don't have mountains, we don't have an ocean. Okay, our lakes are a little bit muddy compared to down at Table Rock Lake or up in Minnesota. So, but let me tell you this: this is the best place to raise a family. Unbelievable people. The people are what make Topeka, Kansas a unique and special place. So yes, we need more facilities. Yes, we need to host better tournaments. Yes, but my goodness, you can't go to any of these other communities that have wonderful facilities, and you can't sit in front of a task, a group of commissioners, and you can't say, okay, you know what we need to fix here is we need to have better people. All of you need to do. You need to figure out how to be better parents and better workers, and you need to do a better job of building your church community. We don't have that problem. We have wonderful people here. We have great people here and great families. So the foundation is set to do something big here and really focus on our kids that live here first. Okay, so that's one, and then the next focus will be the economic impact of what if Topeka was hosting regional events, and we have in the past, and they've been successful. But there's a couple. I'm giving you some high level insight into what we're trying to focus on.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's, just based on what you've said, there's really quality of life components or economic development components that all tie into TASK. But before we kind of dive into some of those specifics, I really want to kind of take ask a more personal question to you guys. What keeps each of you sort of involved in this work, inspired to do the work? Are there certain personal motivations or relationships or passions that are really driving you to individually to make sports in the Topeka area better and hopefully for generations to come?
Yeah, I think Mike should answer that because I just talked for like 20 minutes.
No, I think that one thing about sports is that you learn the actual physical sport and you learn the mechanics of the sport, but what the intangible is you learn team activities, you learn how to work together, you learn how to there's give and take, and quite frankly, you learn sometimes how to win really well, but there's a lot of times you learn how to lose too, and lose graciously. So one of the things that I like to do, the reason I kind of get up during the day is look at those sporting activities and just say, we are building better people as a general rule that play sports. And so, I look at it the other day and especially youth sports in particular. My daughter was playing volleyball, and it was the last game of the first tournament she'd ever played volleyball in. And we expected her to play, 2, maybe 3 games and she'd be done, right? They take it all the way to the championship game, and it's just electric for them. And she gets out there, and unfortunately they lose. But they were there. They get second place in the tournament. And she looks at me and she's sad. I said, you got to hold your head up high. This is a great thing. You played sports, you played together, you came together as a team. And she goes, Dad, that was the most important game of my life. And so my 9-year-old daughter is learning that sometimes in life things don't always go your way, but it's the fun times. And we talked about a lot of the fun times that were held on the court. And so you learn, sometimes you get life friends in sports. So that's why I do it. I think that if we instill this idea of, the attitude of sports, be really excited to be about your hometown. And then as they progress and hopefully they go on, they'll be there. The young lady I just saw from Team US that is going to be representing from the area, Oskaloosa, that's going to be on Team USA for softball. There are great stories all the way around. So anyways, that's why I do it.
Yeah. And I think so as you have a left side and right side of your brain. So I think if you divide this answer into, I think it's really easy to have a left side and a right side, and both of them are extremely important. So Mike's answer was, let's call it the left side, which is the part that it's hard to put on a spreadsheet. So that it's the things that you learn in sports. It's he mentioned being a good teammate. You have to be a good teammate if you're on a 7U baseball team, and you have to be a good teammate when you're, working for the greater Topeka partnership. But if you're a banker or an insurance broker. Okay, so. And also on Mike's side, I would point directly. I mean, task or any youth sports, directive could point just straight to mental health. And when we are scrambling as a world, not Topeka, not Kansas, not the United States, as a world, adults are scrambling to try to figure out how do we solve this massive problem of teen suicide. And the numbers are scary, folks. Like it's going in a bad direction, and it's going younger, and but guess what? One of the things, it's not medication. One of the things that they've been able to point to that is a huge benefit and a huge difference maker is sports. When kids are a part of sports, their grades are higher, their thoughts of suicide go way down. I mean, so anyway. That's all left side of the brain, right? So better teammate, mental health, being a part of something bigger than and not an individual sport. Let's go to the right side of the brain. Now I'll focus the rest of my answer on the right side. Mm-hmm. The right side is at the business side of it, the economic drivers, the impacts. When we host a wrestling meet, when we host a softball tournament, the $25 a kid or whatever it costs to play a tournament. That's not even moving the needle. That's not on the radar. But when those families come from Frankfort, Kansas, or Hayes, or even better yet, come out of state and spend your money in Kansas. So when they come from Springfield, Missouri, and they're here for 3 days. They're staying in our hotels. They're eating in our restaurants in Topeka. They're supporting local business, and they're fueling up at our local gas stations. I could go on and on about the economic drivers of what youth sports can be for this community. And it goes all the way down to your 6-year-old flag football league, and it goes all the way up to our professional sports, which we have here in Topeka. But sports has a huge economic impact to what we're trying to do in this city.
Right. And well, I really love what you guys are saying, because it sounds like, investing in Task and making sure it is, really successful is really about sustaining the future of Topeka, building the future of Topeka from an economic development standpoint, but also from investing in our youth and helping the kids of today become our leaders of tomorrow, which
Right.
I really love.
Yeah, exactly. And now I understand Task kind of has 2 lanes when it comes to the work. There's the in-market, more community-focused work, and then there are these broader out-of-market objectives. Could you help us understand those 2 approaches? How do the in-market and out-of-market goals or strategies differ, and what do they look like?
Sure. So in market, Task has initiatives like Task Cares, which is a component we're getting ready to roll out, which has to do with youth equipment grants. So making sure our youth have the tools they need to play. It's going to be talking about unifying sports, breaking down silos. That's kind of the in-market piece. So really getting a tourism ecosystem and sports tourism ecosystem ready for those folks that are going to come from the outside. We got to invest first in our community and make sure our community is set, and then we can talk about out-of-market. An out-of-market experience is I go to a lot of trade shows. I represent Topeka in the area for sporting events and bringing in tournaments and things of that nature. A great example is the collegiate national junior college collegiate athletics tournament. It was a track meet, national track meet, and that is what I do. I go out and find these events to come to our city that match what our in market venues are, bring them in, and then have our tourism ecosystem ready to help support those. So one's a sales focus and one's kind of a community building focus.
Yeah, thank you. That makes perfect sense.
Jake, anything to add there, or did Mike cover it?
No, he did a pretty good job of covering that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of on this topic of your goals and the different lanes you operate in, I know sports facilities, right, is kind of an area of focus. And it's my understanding that an organization called Sports Facilities Companies actually conducted a facility study for the Topeka area shortly after Task formed. Give us a little insight on that. What did the results of that study show us from a facility standpoint?
Yeah, so SFC is a national company. They're based out of Clearwater, Florida, and they work in communities from coast to coast and throughout the Midwest. And when you get a third party like that, and they basically come and investigate your community,
Mm-hmm.
and spend time, and it took several months for them. And they interview stakeholders that are here that have had child participation from youth all the way up to collegiate. So they talk to stakeholders, parents, politicians. They really kind of interview not only your community, but the communities around you. And so they're not only walking through your facilities, but then they're going to Manhattan, Lawrence, Kansas City, and Wichita and walking through their facilities. So some of it's demographic driven, and some of it's population driven, and some of it's how easy is it to drive from Emporia to Topeka, and as you think about different communities throughout the country, sometimes it's hard to get from one place to the other. And you can, in Florida, sometimes it takes an hour and a half to get 15 miles. So they really kind of focus on, is it really feasible for people from Emporia to come to Topeka for a tournament or for a game? In Topeka's case, it's very easy to commute here. We don't have any of those roadblocks and issues. Okay, so we love their report because it goes through and it really gives us a grade on where we're at, and then they do a good job saying, here's 10 other communities that we see in Ohio, and we see this one over here in North Dakota, and here's a similar community in Missouri and in Texas. Roughly the same population, roughly the same demographic, roughly the same area. And this is what they're doing. This is what they're able to accomplish over the last 5-10 years. And, you know, I think what came out of that report is we have unlimited potential here in Topeka, and really some untapped resources that that a third party sees that we can go take advantage of. Where we lack currently, as Topeka sits, is facilities. We have some really great facilities. They're just not big enough, or there's not enough of them in proximity, especially to our hotels and our retail restaurants. So that's right. That's what we're trying to solve for. That's what we're trying to master plan for, is how do we one, take care of our inner community, our people that live here. And so we don't have people playing league games and practicing in Kansas City on Tuesday and Thursday night, that they're staying home. And then the other lane that you were mentioning, how do we get people from Springfield, Missouri and Denver, Colorado, and how do we get those people to want to travel to Topeka?
I think the one big thing about having this third party come in to take a look at it, I think we all have an internal bias about what we have and don't have in the city. And this company came through, did a great job of really putting the in black and white on what we have and what we don't have. And then they made some recommendations about investments in field houses for, you know, volleyball and basketball, some investments possibly to our softball and baseball facilities, just getting them up to a sports tourism level. So it was great to see, you know, we have those, oh boy, I really think we should do this, but having a person really investigate with an unbiased opinion was extremely valuable.
And in terms of the need for facilities, Jake, you mentioned that, you know, we're in the master planning stages at this point. What can we expect if we had a crystal ball? Is it new field houses, new facilities? What do you guys, what's the end goal here for Topeka?
How long is this?
Maybe that was a loaded question.
The end game for Topeka. So again, I'm gonna start with our foundation, our base, which is I believe we have amazing families right here in Topeka. So with that, and look to our left and right. We have the Big 12 champs in football, you know, less than an hour away in Manhattan. We have the national champs in KU basketball. You know, our volleyball and softball teams at our universities, and right here in Topeka at Washburn University, and you see what our volleyball team did this year. I mean, I can point to Emporia State and men's and women's basketball, and we have amazing collegiate sports right here. And I think with youth sports, it starts with this parents' dream and desire. I think initially they have that belief that their kid's gonna get a scholarship and pay for their school and go on and play. That's sometimes not reality. So what you see in youth sports is it's like a funnel. So early on at 7 and 8 years old, everybody's the next, you know, Christian Brown. Everybody is, you know, going to go play at KU K-State. They're going to go play big time ball and have their school paid for. So you get a lot of families and a lot of kids. Big funnel, right? And as the kids get older, the participation and reality sets in, like it did for me. I was like, man, I'm 5'10" and really slow. I'm probably so you know, you start seeing reality set in, and then you start seeing kids start specializing in something that they're good at. So the Johnny's not playing soccer, football, baseball, basketball. You know, he's not doing wrestling. He's not doing the whole gamut. He's just a baseball player and then also runs track. You know, so what we think at Topeka and what we could be is we could really focus in on the not just youth sports but youth. You know, so really focus in on some of those younger years where there's a big broad participation, and really focus in on the experience and the whether that's facilities or whether that's the types of tournaments that we're putting on. But so I think that's part of it. Second, I think we want to do something that's broader and bigger and bolder, and kind of blow the doors off of what people's expectations for what sports could be in Topeka. And I can't disclose all of our ideas because other communities would just listen to this podcast and jump right in. But we have some plans and initiatives that we're working on that we think would make Topeka one of the call it 5 or 10 most interesting, fastest growing, vibrant cities that there is in the country when it comes to sports. And I'm talking youth sports, I'm talking professional sports, and I'm also talking about Special Olympics and all disabilities and abilities, and just some things that could really set Topeka apart. And this goes all the way back to your guys' original question, like why are you guys doing this? Well, it always comes from people are motivated by a number of different things, but do you know how you solve world hunger? I mean, you go next door if there's a kid that's hungry and you feed that kid. Okay, so it's stacking all these little things on top of each other that how we really start to make a difference. And so, you know why I'm wanting to solve the problem for sports and all abilities and disabilities is because my youngest brother has Down syndrome. So it's just simple for me. It's a part of life for me to be motivated by that and drive towards it every day when I'm personally touched by it. Same thing for when I'm talking about building baseball or softball. I have 3 kids playing sports right now, all in Topeka. So it's easier for me to help lead this. And the idea behind Task is there's a lot more of me and Mike's out there that have the same type of things that they're dealing with their family and ultra motivated right now. Now, Mike and I, in 10 years from now, we're passing the baton. I've said that publicly.
That's not part of the master plan.
Hey, you got my full attention right now. As soon as my kid gets cut from a baseball team, I'm no longer interested in helping Topeka baseball. No, but you get what I'm saying, right? So as my kids become aged out of sports or more specialized, there's going to be another parent and another a mom or dad that their kids are playing all the sports, and right now is important. So, and listen, I don't want to throw darts and shade at what Topeka has been able to accomplish over the past 50 years. You know, we've had some good vision, and we've had some really nice facilities, and we've had communities step up and put those facilities in place. I think Mike and I and the whole Task organization, we're just excited to take it to another level.
Definitely. Well, and Jake, some of what you just talked about, kind of a perfect segue into my next question for you guys. Talk to us about how inclusivity and accessibility kind of tie into the Sports Commission's work. What do those values kind of mean from a sports development standpoint, and how are they shaping what Task hopes to accomplish?
I think that to kind of piggyback on a little bit of the last question, I believe that Topeka needs to become the envy of everyone, every community, when it comes to inclusive sports. We are historically a leader for or a champion for inclusivity in our community, from the origins to present day. So that's one thing, and inclusive for me is a lot different. So adaptive sports, sports that kids cannot play sometimes because of socioeconomic backgrounds. So, and then we talked about Special Olympics just a little bit, but that is kind of the thing that I want to see is this whole push towards inclusivity in sports and making sure that we are doing that. Mm-hmm. So that's one. So that's one thing.
Even with the facilities conversation, it sounds like that inclusivity mindset is going to shape,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So I'll think about Shane, who lives with my mom and brothers. Shane's he has either a wheelchair or he has to walk with, assisted crutches. So what sports are available for Shane, and then if Shane has always wanted to play baseball or swing a bat, or anybody that's in a wheelchair, what do we have available for them? And you think about like, all right, how would I do that, and how do I get? So we have dirt fields and we have turf fields. The turf fields have sand and rubber in it. That, you know, almost impossible for him to move and turn. And, you know, and then you see it out there, whether it's on social media or wherever, but there's actual baseball and softball fields built and made specifically for wheelchairs. We need it here. We want that in Topeka. We want to be able to host those types of events here. You know, and
shameless plug real quick. I've got an event coming up in September for wheelchair softball.
Oh, yeah.
Here in town.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike telling me a little bit about it.
Where's it at?
So
really cool.
We have the adaptive field at Gage Park that it's okay, needs work, but we want to shine a little bit of light on that. But yeah, I've got some wounded warrior, it's not wounded warriors, but some folks from Fort Riley, occupational therapists, so soldiers in wheelchairs that are going to be coming up.
Wow.
The National Wheelchair Softball Association players are going to be here, and then they are going to be playing against able-bodied folks in wheelchairs.
Nice.
So there are opportunities to play and learn a little bit about some of the difficulties that could be out there.
I'm sure that offers a really unique perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope so. And you know, so we're shedding light on this wheelchair softball. We're shedding light on some of the things that the barriers folks have to do, but we're also bringing in people economic impact, and actually these folks have a World Series that would be the end game, you know, trying to get them here for their National World Series.
Well, more to come on that, it sounds like. Very exciting. And earlier, you guys mentioned the Task Cares Grant Initiative that's going to be coming out of the commission. When can people expect to see that? What can people expect to know about that?
Sure, we're going to roll this out in July. And this was actually something that came up in a meeting. Jake was telling a story, and I keep thinking about this story, but he said there was a school that had, he's up in Meriden, that had brand new basketball goals, a beautiful court. And it was great. I think he said he drove by all the time and never saw any kids playing. No kids are playing. And so
during recess,
Oh no!
Nobody's playing. Nobody's shooting hoops, right? Every kid shoots hoops. And come to find out, there were no basketballs. And so they went up and bought some basketballs.
Yeah,
right?
they were 15, 20 years old, flat.
Yeah, flat.
Yeah.
Just dropped them out. But so the idea was, you know, it didn't cost hardly anything to get basketballs. And they got basketballs now. They shoot hoops all the time.
Yeah.
So out of this discussion and meeting is how many more stories in our community are out there like that? They don't have, the equipment isn't there, or it's unsafe equipment, or you know, the equipment is just usually a barrier to entry because it costs money. So I went out to Play It Again Sports, and I talked to them, and they said, you know, we'd love to help partner with this. And we came up with this idea of having some micro grants out there for folks that are within kind of the socioeconomically disadvantaged folks, or have you know, needs or challenges, need adaptive equipment, whatever it is, to really try to help. So in July, we're going to be rolling out more information about that, and then we will have an inaugural kind of event to kick off the fundraising for this initiative. In August, we're gonna do a mini golf tournament. So
Fun.
you know, just have a
Great for your classic tournament.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm learning the game of golf currently, so I like this.
Well, we can start with mini, but really, it's just a way to give back and build that bench strength in our community, and just have a little bit of pride about sports in Topeka.
I love that. And it sounds like kind of the classic, you know, if you really want to get to the root of a problem, look upstream, you know, and see what's causing it. So that's fantastic. Well, and as we kind of round home on this podcast, sports pun fully intended there, I'd like each of you to, I had to, Mike, I had to. I was hoping each of you could kind of talk to us about what success would look like for Task. I mean, obviously we've touched on specifics, but I'm hoping for kind of a big picture summary from each of you. I mean, if you had to kind of sum it up in just a few words, 5-10 years from now, how will this community be different if Task is successful?
You want me to go first?
Well, she said a few words, so now I'm confused.
Oh my gosh.
I can't do it. Like,
I'll field that first. My ultimate goal, and I've said this on videos, and they're looking at it, and I just think that Topeka needs to be the envy of everyone when it comes down to sports. If we have great facilities that are teaching our kids how to play and respectably play, we will be able to develop these kids into athletes down the road as that funnel gets even better. We just had a wonderful pitcher in the national championship from Topeka High that played, and she was playing for Stanford.
Yeah, Nija. Yeah,
Nija. And we could also point to Gary Woodland. And again, when they say, when it pops up, where are you from? Topeka, Kansas, and that's what I want to see more of. I want to see our athletes winning, not only in their personal lives, but winning on the field and it playing out, and just being able to say that they were kind of developed in Topeka, and they didn't have to go anywhere else. So just being the envy.
Wonderful. Well, and Jake, Mike clearly took more than a few words, so take your.
Yeah, I mean, I think of communities like Crown Point, Indiana, and they took a risk. They took a big step, and they built state-of-the-art softball stadium side by side. And knowing that there was a lack of state-of-the-art softball facilities, and now they've become the mecca of national softball, and that's where nationals are held at many levels. And you think about kids training and what their coaches are saying, they're talking about going to Crown Point. Like, hey, we're not going to be able to get away with that at Crown Point, or it is Crown Point in softball. And I don't think we're going to be able to steal maybe softball from some of these, but I think Topeka can be a destination, and I love the idea of building our home and our community and our kids staying home, and I think we're really close to that. But since you asked me what the 5 and 10 year vision is, I think it's not only are we so good at home that people want to make Topeka their home because of their experience that they had when they traveled here. And really their eyes open up like, man, this would be a wonderful community. And man, there's opportunities here, and there's great schools, and there's great recreation, and I can get here, and I can get to Kansas City. I can get to the airport within an hour. So I think in 10 years, a success story would be looking back at COVID and what in 2022 and this task force, and they started dreaming big. And man, can you imagine where Topeka would be if we didn't create that task force? And to me, that's where this is headed. I think it should be community changing, life changing on a bunch of different fronts, on a bunch of different sports, and facility wise, I want to have facilities here in Topeka that are state of the art, that you just don't see across the country, and that our own community is proud of, and they're working and they're practicing that, and then on the weekends we're getting all that Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska, all of our surrounding states, they're coming to Topeka to spend the weekend. And I think that's part of the success story. So,
yeah, well, what a absolutely wonderful note to end things on. And for our listeners, if you'd like to follow along with the Topeka Area Sports Commission, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They also have a website coming soon at topekasports.org.
That's right. And this has been such a fantastic conversation with Mike Bell and Jake Ferrett here today. It's been a pleasure having you guys on the show. So thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.
You can catch new episodes of Topeka Talk Community Conversations the first week of each month.